Hello, Aries. Today, your energy shows up through three powerful symbols: an invisible tie that once weighed you down, a truth that's unlocking itself without you having to speak, and a victory that comes from no longer reacting on impulse. What used to throw you off balance is slowly losing power, not because it suddenly ended, but because you're no longer standing where you once stood. You're no longer available to be bound the same way. Anyone who dismissed your kindness, your devotion, or your silence will sooner or later face what they created. What was hidden won't stay buried for long. When you stop trying to prove who you are and simply stand in your truth, anger stops being a fire that burns you and becomes the heat that melts other people's masks. A significant decision is getting closer, and if you ignore your intuition, the old loop may repeat with nothing more than a quiet sigh. Don't assume you already know everything. There is still one missing piece, a fragment of truth that shows you who's been holding you with emotional strings and how to free yourself without losing who you are. If your heart has felt uneasy lately and there's no clear reason, that's not imagination, that's your intuition knocking. If you feel this message, leave a small sign in the comments to open a new current of energy and keep the positive flow undisturbed. You can write, "I am returning to my rightful place." Say it gently, slowly, as if someone were holding your hand right before the storm passes. And now, come a little closer, Aries. You don't have to brace yourself anymore. Sit down, breathe evenly, not because you're weak, but because your soul is asking to be heard without having to defend itself. I know you're used to handling everything alone, pretending to be strong so no one panics, swallowing your words so the peace outside doesn't break. You don't always speak it, but your body already has: the sleepless nights with no clear cause, the tightness caught in your throat, the exhaustion that shows up even when nothing bad is happening. These are signals, signs that your spirit has outgrown the old space. That first symbol is like a room without a locked door, yet you still felt trapped, not because someone kept you there, but because loyalty, expectation, and habit told you to stay a little longer, told you that love could fix what was collapsing. But some battles aren't meant to be won, they're meant to show you that you're not meant to keep fighting them. There was someone who knew how to tap into your emotional soft spots, not always with bad intentions, but because they learned that if they looked hurt, you would go quiet and give in. The guilt when you set a boundary, the self-doubt when you listened to your intuition, the silent treatment that felt like punishment. All of it made you believe you were the problem. You stayed because you thought, if I leave, will they fall apart? But you forgot, when you sacrifice too much just to keep something alive, it's probably not meant for you anymore. Your silence was never weakness. Your soul once chose to love through endurance, and now that same soul is asking you to step out. Don't blame yourself. Your devotion came from a sacred place, steadfast heart, warm spirit, the instinct to protect and care. But when a story has run out of life, clinging to it only prolongs a winter that isn't yours to carry. Kindness was never the problem, you simply don't have to spend it on things whose time has passed. That first energy doesn't come to accuse you. It whispers. The fear of being misunderstood held you for too long, and now the light is slipping through cracks you once couldn't see. Those vivid dreams, those chills down your spine, those memories rising from nowhere, they're not instability, they're the call of a new chapter unfolding. Nothing about this is accidental. When truth comes forward, it doesn't arrive to punish you. It arrives to wake you up. The bigger picture is revealing itself, not because you went searching for it, but because its time has come. When the light finally turns on in a room you thought you knew by heart, you suddenly see everything you once tripped over without understanding why. The missing words, the confusing behaviors, that strange sense of being manipulated but not knowing how to name it, they're all coming into focus now. Not because someone exposed it, not because you forced it into the open, but because the moment for revelation has arrived. And the most beautiful part is this time you don't have to prove anything. Just stand in your truth, and everything not meant for you will collapse on its own. Aries, the energy today sounds like a drum calling your spirit back home. The judgment of the universe is moving quietly but with eerie precision. What no longer belongs to your path is being rearranged. Everything you once held together through effort is now being released through dignified silence, not confrontation. Your mission is no longer to convince, to argue, or to resist, but to hold your ground and let the fire within you purify what is no longer clean. Don't let yourself get swept away by the urge to explain or to be understood. I'm saying this while looking right into your soul, where a small part of you still wonders. Will they think I gave up? Will they misunderstand me? Clarity doesn't come from convincing anyone. It comes in the moment you choose silence and let truth speak for itself. When you no longer need to prove your innocence, your stillness becomes the evidence. There's something you heard long ago but brushed aside. Your intuition had spoken first, not through words, but through feeling, that tiny suspicion in your chest, the heaviness in your stomach after hearing a promise, or that strange silence that stretched longer than it should have. Don't blame yourself for ignoring it. Back then, your heart just wanted to believe in something good. Compassion in you always wants to forgive. But this time, forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone return. It means allowing yourself to be free. Judgment isn't here to punish anyone, it's here to show you the full picture, so you don't repeat the same cycle of pain. Let's pause for a moment, as if we've just set a teacup down, and lit a small candle before continuing. Place your hand on your chest. Inhale, exhale, and speak these words out loud, so your soul can hear your own voice. I release what does not belong to me, and I receive truth with a peaceful heart. Feel that moment, like a door opening in a room that once felt too small. This isn't a spell to change someone else, it's a ritual that returns you to yourself. A symbol of victory appears, not the kind cheered by crowds, but the kind born from restraint. You've learned that the real triumph is not proving you were right, but refusing to become the thing that wounded you. When you walk forward with your head held high, it isn't pride, it's dignity. You're grateful now for the way you've learned to keep your energy intact, not reacting to meaningless blows, not selling your soul just to belong. You're not guarded because you're afraid of being hurt again. You're calm because you've discovered the true value of your peace. And that calmness, that is spiritual power most people will never reach. In the days ahead, you'll start to notice small signals. A stranger's kind smile, a thoughtful word, something that once confused you suddenly making sense. These signs aren't random. They are confirmations that you're walking the right way. And if someone returns, with apologies, promises, or that familiar smile, remember, not everyone who comes back deserves access to you. Some only return to test whether you still stand. You don't need revenge. You don't need to rehearse speeches. Your silence is your full answer. Just hold your boundary and keep your heart steady. What you cannot control, the universe has already handled. Your task now is to manage your own energy and choose the wise road. If a relationship requires you to doubt yourself in order to keep it, it is no longer yours to carry. This lesson doesn't ask you to fight anyone, it asks you to remain loyal to yourself. Your body is so used to tension that when peace finally arrives, it feels strange, empty, even scary. Don't panic. Peace always startles the soul at first because it's unfamiliar. When that happens, treat yourself with the same gentleness you once gave everyone else. You don't need to be strong every second. Let your body rest. Let your heart soften. Peace isn't the absence of challenges, it's the absence of inner resistance. The decision you're learning now is not stay or go. It's choosing yourself every single time, in love and work. In spirit, it's the decision to stop waiting for permission to be happy, to stop silencing yourself to avoid upsetting others, to stop using your love as currency to be accepted. You've already named the rope that held you. You've already brought light into the room. And now you're standing up on your own feet, not to wage war, but to live freely, clearly, and with gratitude. You don't need to defeat anyone. You only need to stop losing yourself. And now, Aries, you're beginning to notice your eyes aren't the same. They no longer search for someone to reflect you, they've begun to truly see you. Your steps are still strong, but now they move half a beat slower, not from exhaustion, but from intention. Your voice is lower, truer, carrying a quiet strength. That makes others fall silent to listen. Let me walk with you a little deeper. Because there's a detail the new light is revealing. Judgment doesn't just expose where others were wrong. It shows you the exact moment. You abandoned yourself out of fear of losing. You will remember the times you nodded just to keep the peace, even when a storm was roaring inside you. The times you smiled so no one would get hurt, then turned away and felt that hollow silence inside your chest. Don't be ashamed of those moments. They were survival instincts of a heart that once believed love meant enduring. Now, when those memories return, they're not coming back to wound you. They're here to teach you how not to abandon yourself again. And when life repeats old tests, pause for just a moment and ask, what I'm about to say or about to accept, does it honor who I am now? If the answer is no, then setting a boundary is an act of love. It doesn't just protect you, it stops others from causing deeper harm. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are learning how to love without damaging your soul. I know you're wondering, when will I actually feel lighter? When will my heart stop aching? I won't make an easy promise. Pain doesn't vanish by magic. It dissolves slowly. Each day you choose a different path. In the days ahead, you'll see quiet signs that the wound is healing. One morning you'll wake up and realize you slept through the night. A memory that once pierced you will suddenly feel blurry. A conversation you used to dread will pass by easily. Those are the universe's silent applause, acknowledgement of your healing journey. And when you hear it, let gratitude spread through you like warm light. Imagine walking into a room that's yours, familiar, tidy, safe, and yet something's off. In the corner, a thin string is tied to the leg of a chair, almost invisible, but just strong enough to hold you back. The card that mirrors this is the Eight of Swords. Old beliefs that I have to, the rules you never agreed to, but still carried for too long. Judgment shows you who tied that string and why you let it stay. And the victory energy, symbolized by the Six of Wands, is leading your hand to the knot, asking you to untie it not with anger, but with self-respect. And when the string falls to the floor, you won't need to tell anyone. That silence will ring like a bell announcing your freedom. You'll feel more space in your lungs, less weight on your shoulders. You won't need witnesses, because the truest confirmation is the peace inside your body. If you feel this message has touched something within you, I want you to do one simple thing as a ritual to close the old cycle. Write this in the comments as a commitment to your soul. I release what does not honor me. I allow the light of truth to move through me. Add your name if you're called to, as though you're signing a pact with yourself. Then inhale slowly. Exhale fully. Feel that energy washing through your chest, like the universe quietly nodding in recognition. And if you ask, what happens next? I will smile, because I know the subtlest part is arriving. There is an energy you haven't named yet. It's the reason old stories kept replaying with new faces. Not because fate is cruel, but because you were still carrying the same emotional frequency that hadn't healed. It hasn't come to scare you, but to hand you the real key, so you can end the old circle, open the right door, and never have to step back into it again. When that truth arrives, it won't come to hurt, it will come to heal. It will teach you the difference between love and endurance, between connection and bondage. And when you see it clearly, you'll feel grateful, because every loss before this was just a warm-up for the freedom you're stepping into. What's coming won't just free you from the old story. It will help you reconnect with yourself and with the world in a completely new way, where your sensitivity is no longer a weakness to exploit, but the most precise compass you carry, guiding you through darkness with the light of your own heart. Aries, after everything you've endured, forgiven, and released, something sacred is awakening inside you, the power of serenity. You no longer need to burn to prove your strength. Now your fire illuminates, it does not scorch. And that is the sign of a soul that has truly matured. When I speak this to you, I'm not seeing someone who was broken. I see a soul that walked through flame and returned with eyes that can separate illusion from truth. Your emotions are not impulsive or fragile, as others once assumed. They are the embers that rested beneath the ash through a long winter, waiting for the moment to rise again. Your capacity to love was never destroyed, never contaminated by old wounds. It was simply resting under the dust, waiting for the right warmth to bloom again. Now that warmth is no longer burning from loneliness, but glowing from awareness and newfound peace. It carries the depth of someone who understands. That emotion isn't a battlefield, it's a realm of choice. I hear the whisper of the cards, and the symbol of the Two of Cups appears not as a fleeting intoxication, but as a restored connection. Born from depth, not from fear of losing someone. What's coming toward you isn't a side character in a shallow play. It's a kind of presence that knows how to walk beside you, without dimming the light you hold. You're no longer drawn to connections that make you chase, prove your worth, or hold your breath out of fear of losing someone. Inconsistent promises, emotional guessing games, you've outgrown them. So whoever is approaching you now comes at a pace your heart doesn't have to defend itself against. No rushing, no hiding, no sugarcoating. Whether this energy arrives as love, a soul companion, an ally, or a catalyst for your evolution, its purpose is not to fill your emptiness, but to make the light within you more whole. You will feel it clearly, Your breath loosens, your thoughts stop looping, your body doesn't tighten the way it once did. In front of souls who came only to test you, you will no longer feel pushed to become a version of yourself that makes others comfortable. You won't measure yourself against standards no one can actually live by. You won't keep planning escape routes in case someone changes colors. Clarity, moderation, and the sense of wholeness from within will appear before any words do. And for this healthy connection to grow, there is one old memory you'll have to set down: the fear of being betrayed by your own feelings. That fear used to be your armor. It stayed with you so long it became second skin, closing your windows even when the light never meant to hurt you. You once believed that softening meant losing your guard. But now you are no longer someone who needs to win to feel safe. You are someone who knows how to carry the torch and light the way. You've reached a silent mastery, a kind of understanding that doesn't need complex philosophy. A single blink is enough for you to perceive what is really happening. You know when you're opening your heart out of freedom and when you're closing it out of survival instinct. And that, Aries, is the strongest shield you've ever held, not bracing yourself, but choosing the moments where you are worthy of opening. A card aligned with the Five of Wands appears, not to warn of outer conflict, but to whisper about the quiet battle inside your mind. The old voice says, "Be careful, don't trust too fast, don't let anyone see your weak spot. Have you forgotten already? Don't turn it into an enemy, let it speak. But don't hand it the steering wheel, because the strongest part of you has already learned to tell the difference between a real warning and a panicked memory." Love in its true form, in any shape it takes, does not require you to discard your identity, does not force you to endure in silence, and does not turn sacrifice into obligation. So this time, when the door opens, you won't enter on your knees. You'll step in on your own two steady feet, with a heart that no longer confuses saving someone with walking beside them. As I write this, an image akin to the King of Cups smiles in your direction. But within your field, this energy shifts into the King of Wands or the Emperor, a presence that carries emotional maturity without losing the fire of essence. It may appear through someone steady, intentional, few words but precise, someone who doesn't scatter you, but quietly illuminates what you haven't yet seen. But it might also be the newest version of you, the one who finally looks at themselves with the respect you once gave only to others. Regardless of whether you carry feminine or masculine energy, I sense in you a structure rebuilt, no longer staying quiet just to keep the peace, no longer being gentle to be loved, no longer rebelling because silence suffocated you. What you carry now isn't complicated, loud, or performative. It's bright, warm, and unmistakably clear. And just as I think the story has settled, a symbol corresponding to the Nine of Swords steps forward, but this time not to replay your pain, but to show you how you already walked through it. Not everything that appears on your path was meant to stay, and not everything that leaves was turning its back on you. When your inner light changes, some echoes from the past may return, not because they have evolved, but because your new radiance startles them. Some people are drawn to the flame when it rises again, but this time your new center will be the one who chooses, not the one waiting to be chosen. This time you choose, not because you're afraid of being alone or burning with unspoken anger, but because your clarity shows you not every story deserves a second chapter. Let go of the feeling that you owe anyone emotionally. You are not responsible for fixing anyone's path, nor for holding onto what once drained your life force. You have already given out of love, and that is more than enough. Now is the moment your devotion turns inward. This is when you realize you deserve to be chosen, not for the value you create for others, but for the purity of your existence itself. The first recognition must come from the way you look at your own reflection, not to find flaws, but to witness worth. When you treat yourself with the tenderness you used to give everyone else, everything begins to shift. A clear image appears. Before you stands a doorway flooded with light. Your hand no longer trembles waiting for a miracle. Your steps no longer move out of escape or pursuit. You are not being pushed by pain, you are being led by maturity. Deep inside, you already know what waits on the other side matches the new rhythm of your soul, no longer a replica of the old worn paths. And here the reading shifts. It points to a reconstruction, not just emotionally, but across your entire way of living. There was a time when your choices came from avoiding loss, dodging disappointment, escaping the same old blows. Now every decision rises from the strength of someone who remembers who they are. You choose not from lack, but from awareness. A symbol aligned with the King of Pentacles appears, but in your spread it carries the tone of fire that has stopped warring. Earth, after merging with fire, becomes a steady ground. This card pulls you out of uncertainty and reminds you, you know how to rebuild a foundation. You can nurture a tangible reality without sacrificing your soul. If you carry masculine energy, this is the version of you who no longer waits for anyone to legitimize your existence. If you carry feminine energy, this is the phase where intuition becomes action with real outcomes, not just floating sensations. You have been the refuge for others, the shoulder, the anchor, the flame that kept the night from freezing. But today life whispers. It is your turn to design your own space, to redefine the terms of your peace, to rearrange relationships and work based on kindness to yourself, not out of pity or inherited duty. I can see what's been frozen for so long, quietly beginning to move. A project that once felt blurry finds direction. A career opportunity suddenly makes sense. A shift in your living space starts aligning with ease. A stream of money begins flowing again. An old desire stirs back to life, but without the pressure it once carried. The miracle is this. None of these changes arrive because you pushed for them. They come from the new relationship between you and you. No matter who you are, your gender, your age, your title, your frequency has changed. And when the center shifts, reality rearranges itself. Your rhythm now is not reaction, but creation. And when life senses that signal, it brings possibilities that only wait for your nod. I sense an ancient protective force, not here to control you, but to safeguard the path your soul chose. Even when you were drained, even when you were lost, it stayed like a cloak wrapped around your purpose, waiting for the day you'd be clear enough to take back your torch. Now that you've dropped roles that were never meant for you, resources begin to flow again. Opportunities you don't have to chase draw closer. What used to feel doubtful turns transparent, and what once felt scarce is bridged by support arriving. At the right moment, the Ace of Pentacles in your field is not just a material beginning. It is confirmation that this time, the seed is planted on land you chose, not someone else's territory. That beginning may come as an invitation to collaborate, a living space that brings you freedom, a new direction for your health, a project once abandoned, now ready to be reborn, or a decision you kept postponing because you thought you weren't ready. Don't let it pass by, not because you need it to survive, but because this time it arrives at your exact frequency. At this stage, nothing is random. If a person, an opportunity, or a memory returns, it's not because you need it, but because you are now mature enough to see it with new eyes. Old figures from your life may reappear, not to pull you backward, but because your transformation unsettles something in them. But this time, you are not the one proving your worth. If someone comes back, you will see them from higher ground. If they stay, you'll know why. If they leave, you'll be grateful for the space they free. Your surroundings, your living space, your emotions, your connections now have to match who you are today, not who you used to be out of habit, memory, or obligation. And that shift brings you a quiet kind of freedom, sharp, precise, and undeniable. The energy equal to the Chariot shows up like a clear bell ringing. It's time to take the reins yourself instead of waiting for the world to give you permission. There was a time you waited for someone to let you move on, but the key was never outside of you. It was forged from your endurance, your awareness, and the way you've been reborn. Moving forward now isn't an escape. It's a decision made with the calm of someone who knows they're not walking back into old rooms. In this moment, I want to offer you a small ritual to activate the presence you've already arrived at. If these words are landing in you, say this quietly or out loud, with the clear heart of an Aries who learned to love themselves after leaving the battlefield. I am worthy of peaceful love and a life in order. My peace is a choice, and I stand with my own truth. Feel how those words settle into your chest, how they realign your inner axis without force, and how they remind you that the wheel was never taken from your hands. Then, the image of the hermit appears, but not as a call to isolation. It's the silence of someone who knows how to pull their energy back without feeling abandoned. You've gone deep enough within yourself that outside noise no longer dictates your breath. You can now tell the difference between fertile solitude and being left behind. You've turned stillness into a compass, not a cage. From here, your frequency begins to shift. You don't react on instinct, you observe, then you choose. The card mirroring Three of Swords no longer shows up like a fresh wound, but like a scar that proves you survived. Yes, there were betrayals. Yes, there was rejection. Yes, there were words that made you doubt your own clarity. But now, they're just data that upgraded your intuition. The pain had a purpose, to teach you that no one outside of you can give you what you haven't claimed internally. So the next energy rising is strength, not the strength of clenched fists, but of a hand that soothes the beast instead of killing it. Every time you've chosen not to harm yourself by going back, you've been mastering that power. If you carry masculine energy, your strength now is not constant resistance, but sensitivity that no longer feels ashamed to be seen. If you carry feminine energy, your courage is no longer tied to endurance, but to setting boundaries without losing your softness. The essence of Ten of Cups arrives, not as a fairy tale ending, but as a new way of living where connection no longer demands one-sided sacrifice. It doesn't promise fireworks, it promises emotional rooms with oxygen, conversations that don't require armor, people who stay not because they need you, but because they move in rhythm with you. You won't need to be loud to be seen or explain yourself to be understood. The souls that resonate will find their way into the space you create. Opportunities that don't pull you off center will come on their own. That is real abundance, when love and belonging no longer cost you your own self. The energy of Six of Swords rises, not as a boat running away, but as a crossing already completed over an invisible river. There may be a flicker of nostalgia, but you no longer feel the pull to go back looking for answers. You've set down what wasn't yours on the riverbank. You're walking forward with a heart that carries less weight. And at the end of that passage, Ace of Cups opens, not like a storm of rescue, but like a spring rising from inside you. This time, the heart doesn't love to fill a void, doesn't give to prove anything, doesn't run from loneliness, it loves from awareness. It whispers that for the first time in a long cycle, you are ready to love without reenacting the old war. You no longer need someone to hand you your worth because you've taken it back. And when that happens, small miracles begin to show up. A glance that feels like a signal, a dream that points the way, a meeting that feels like a library of fate opening its door. Your intuition places you where you belong, and when the star shines, it's not here to soothe your wounds, but to confirm that the path you chose is seen. No one needs to patch you up anymore, because you're no longer looking for wholeness outside of yourself. You are not alone, not as a man or a woman, but as a soul who has remembered who you are. And from this point on, you don't ask for a place to stand. You walk into it. What was always yours will return, not through struggle, but through coming back to your truest self. The first time you choose yourself, not out of rebellion, but awakening, the wound stops being a burden or a badge. It becomes a witness to your rebirth. I look into your eyes and I see the most extraordinary thing you remembered. You remember who you are when you no longer have to defend yourself. You remember what you deserve when no one is standing there to judge you. A new landscape is opening, not so you can escape, but so you can build from the wisdom of what you walked through, not from what once burned you. Life has never asked you to be perfect. It has only ever asked you to be present. And this time, you truly are. You know you are worthy. You know you can create a new reality. You know you're on the right path, not because you can prove it, but because your chest rises with a heartbeat made of trust. When echoes of the past come knocking, you won't panic anymore. You'll know when to open the door with compassion and when to close it with gratitude. When opportunity arrives, you'll no longer measure it through scarcity or fear of missing out, but by the peace it brings. And when someone looks at you with love, you won't shrink or perform to be easier to carry. You won't abandon yourself just to be accepted. If you want to close this healing passage with something small but powerful, I invite you to plant a sentence like a sacred drumbeat, like a vow between you and your own heart. If these words have touched you, leave this in the comments, not as a plea, but as a seal. I open myself to true love and build the life I deserve from a place of peace. Write it not with hope that it might happen, but with the certainty that it has already begun. Because you are no longer speaking from lack, but from a truth already awakened within you. Aries, what has been activated in you cannot be undone. And that is the most beautiful omen any guide, even an old soul shuffling the cards of destiny, could ever offer you from the other side of silence. What's coming next won't arrive to test you anymore, but to resonate with you. And you will recognize it, not with a mind still on guard, but with the calm of someone who has finally come home after a lifetime of wandering.